We're back on. Continue.
Yes. Yeah, so one of the other things that affects us and affects our body is that of cigarette smoke. And just imagine the coronavirus the droplets when it enters into your respiratory tract, that impairs your breathing. And imagine smoking and your lung. If you look at someone who smokes cigarette, you'll see that the lung looks like tar, just black. And imagine your lungs in that condition, and then you couple that with the coronavirus, which heavily attacks the lungs, and that's a recipe for disaster. So you want to be able to, if you are smoking, you want to be able to stop smoking, and also to go out into the fresh air. I know that some countries are on lockdown, but you want to be able to step outside as much as you can and be able to breathe in fresh air. Try to get some fresh air. Wherever you are, wherever you can get the fresh air, so you can cleanse your lungs. So that way your lungs can be free. Now, the thing is, um, the countries are opening up now. And if coronavirus is anything like the regular influenza that happens every single year, then we know that there's a possibility, a high possibility, that it will reoccur again year after year. And it will sort of die down when you build up enough immunity, what we call herd immunity, to the coronavirus. So if you're trying to run away from it right now, and if it is anything like the influenza, how it spreads and reoccurs, then we know that there'll be a possibility that this virus will go to almost every country in every quarter of contact with the coronavirus. It's very important for us women. Okay, yes. So that is why it's so important to build your immunity, and the steps that you're taking is not just something. I wouldn't say it's something that temporary where you do this for 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. We want you to change your lifestyle around to avoid the things that are harmful, that breaks down your immunity. But you want to continue on that because coronavirus is not going away. What we can see so far, based upon what we've seen so far, is not going away. And if we run away from it right now, we shelter in our houses and so forth, there will come a point in the future where you may come in contact with that virus. So you want to make sure that you build your immunity and you continue on the lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle practices as time go on throughout the remainder of the year and the years to come. So that this is a lifestyle change that you're making. You must be able to go more towards a more plant-based diet upon fruits, vegetable, grains, nuts, and seeds, and to avoid, as we said before, those sugar, and also dairy and products and all these different things there. So the thing that you should do right now is changing the diet to go more towards a plant-based diet, whole food plant-based diet.
Great. Um, we're having a little bit of difficulty hearing and seeing you guys. I suppose the internet connection by your side has diminished. So we're gonna try to see if we could get you back on here at least next Sabbath to see if we could do a part two for persons, because I know that a lot of persons were logged on, and because of the break, the interruption, we've lost a few of those viewers. But I know that they were really enjoying the program. However, for the remaining period of remaining time that we have, I want to ask a few questions. And I saw we had some calls coming in, but hopefully they will call back. But for the remaining period that we're going to be on this program, I just want to ask quickly for persons who, I know that there are persons who are actually trying to figure this out. Uh, uh, we've had a few scientists. I could probably name two major scientists that have come out to speak out against the coronavirus. One is Dr. Shiva, who has about 4 MIT degrees, and he actually has this book on how to boost your immune system as well. Not along the lines of the natural way per se, but as you're saying, but he also is going sort of parallel to you guys, but not with the spiritual aspect, so to speak. And you also have the 2008 Nobel Prize winner, Montagnier, it's French, Luc Montagnier. He won the 2008 Nobel Prize for co-discovering the HIV virus. And he came out recently and stated that the coronavirus is not natural. And there are some genetic markers that indicate that the coronavirus was manipulated or it had been modified, which the rest of the scientific community has refuted. But I'm not going to put you in a position to ask you whether the coronavirus is created. This is not important. If you want to put it that way. What's really important is the fact that it is existing, and whether it is natural or unnatural. Question for me to you, are you absolutely positively sure that the regiment or the remedy that you're actually talking about in your guide and here this afternoon, how sure are you that it is going to work against this virus?
Okay, so you brought up a point about the origins of the coronavirus, and so basically in Wuhan, China, there have been an outbreak in the past. You probably heard about the SARS outbreak and the severe respiratory syndrome, and also MERS. Those were basically because of the coronavirus, and they have in that took that virus, isolated it.
Okay, we just lost them again. But they're going to come back in a few seconds. There we go.
And there were some studies on the virus, and also the lab here in the United States as well, which Fauci, they supported as well some of the studies being done on the virus. And basically what they were trying to do was have the virus cross species, which sometimes it doesn't really happen. So you have a virus in a bat and then have it cross species. So they would try to change the receptors on the virus to infect animals. And then eventually they found out a way to have it infect human beings. And so now the study even the United States, Trump has even gone on air talking about it as well, that they're looking to see the origin, whether it even came from China, from the laboratory in Wuhan, whether there was a leak or some mishap that happened whilst the research was being conducted in that part of the world. So whether or not it was modified, which there is evidence to show that it's something that was modified, because those viruses don't really cross species like that.
Yeah,
it's still a real virus. And for viruses, the only way that our body can really fight viruses is by using our immune system. And our body has all the capabilities to fight microbes in general, bacteria, viruses, all these different infectious agents. Our body has the ability to fight those infectious agents. And all we have to do is build up our body. So what we're doing here is showing in methods, like even those methods that we're showing you, you can use that in cases of cancer. You can use that in cases of the HIV virus. You can use that in so many different cases where the immune system is being compromised and something, or even your body is attacking itself, or something's attacking your body. So these are shown to be effective. And I'm telling you right now, the only thing that we can rely on right now is just building up this body here, because it can do what it needs to do.
Great. Well said. It's just amazing I was watching a video last night after the program last night. A friend, a very good friend, sent to me a video, an interview on BBC. I can't remember the name of the interviewee, but this person she's part of the government or something in the UK. And she made a statement, and I want to believe that she misspoke, because I don't understand how they could be so bold to make such a statement. And the statement she made, we just lost them here. We're going to wait a couple of seconds to get them back. There we go. So I was saying that she made a statement, and she said that we're not finished infecting the population yet with this virus, or something to that effect. And I was taken aback, because I was like, are you for real? I mean, seriously? Is this, if this is what she meant to say, then this is even more proof that this thing is deliberate. But if this isn't what she meant to say, and she probably meant to say, well, you know, we've not done testing, I would imagine that she probably wanted to say we're not done testing the entire population yet. But if you listen to the interview, this is not really what she wanted to say. But whatever it is she wanted to say, I think she basically put herself in a very, very tight spot, and she may have to answer to questions later on, you know, in the next couple of days. In terms of why they would want to release such virus, or why they would want to be playing with such viruses in the first place, Luc Montagnier gave an answer, and he said perhaps it was to try to find a vaccine for HIV, because obviously you have HIV genetic markers being identified in this particular virus. Other scientists have come out to say that most viruses have the HIV genetic markers in there as well. So this is not anything new. However, I would imagine from someone who had first discovered HIV, this particular marker is referring to, it can't be something that you just find in any and every virus. A virus. It is particular to that particular one. It is specific to that particular one. The other thing is, some person's asking the question, and again, the number is on the screen. You could ask your questions, but someone's asking a question here about whether the Vatican is behind this, or whether this is going to be working to usher in the New World Order. Personally, I'm going to allow the Segis family to answer first, and then I will add my answer to that. What do you think, brothers?
Well, I believe that I wouldn't say I know the exact answers. I can't really see what is happening behind the scenes. But I just know that everyone is interconnected. But what I do know, based upon what is happening, and especially the propaganda that is being pushed in the media and on television, I know that they're trying to instill fear in the population and even the whole world.
Yeah. Okay, they're going to come back in a few seconds. Let's just wait for them to come back, and there we go.
And now more than ever before, we see globally, people are okay with coming together and unifying based upon this common interest of defeating the coronavirus.
Right.
And we know that there, even when we looked at the stimulus package that was going to be passed in the United States, in there, when it was rejected by the Senate, and the Democrats introduced another bill, in there they also tried to incorporate, a cashless society.
Yeah.
And when you look
which
at
which was eventually removed for whatever reason, but
and I'm happy that it was removed, because because they had counted again another bill, and they removed that from the stimulus package. What does the stimulus package? What does that have to do for cashless society? It's easier to control the population, even from a global level, if you have
a cashless society. Yes.
And
yes.
You can see that the stage is being set up for, there's this one world government. Even I've read some articles where some of the leaders I think it was from was it Ethiopia. The prime minister, is he called president there, that he said that for us to defeat this, we must develop a one world strategy.
Yeah.
And so a lot of leaders are calling for that. And you see, like we've been primed into the other things.
Well, the first person to call for a global government throughout this crisis was Henry Kissinger. And if you recall, Henry Kissinger has been pushing for this since the 70s, under Ronald Reagan, under Bush Sr. In fact, most of the presidents till this president, he has been pushing, except for this president actually, he's been pushing for a new world order. And to add to what you're saying, with the whole cashless society, and I did a presentation on this about 3 Sabbath afternoons ago. For persons who had watched this program, you would have seen how I broke it down from way back with Nimrod. Now, Elders, if you study ancient Babylon and how Nimrod built his cities, you would understand that he went about building a city, building these cities and creating a global government with a few things in place to control the population. So one of the things that Nimrod did was to create a one world government, one world economy, one world religion, and he had one language to be able to do that. So there were 4 things that he was able to accomplish in order to be able to achieve globalization. And the whole purpose of globalization is to be able to control the population. They're going to come back shortly as we wait on them. There we go. So the whole purpose was to create globalization. If you look at what they're trying to do now, and as you rightly said, and I'm going to answer right now to that question, I'm not in a position to say, because I like you, Brother Sergius, I do not know what is happening behind the scenes. I can only go according to what the prophecies speak of in terms of the current events. And what we know is that in the last day, according to Daniel 8, the government will come into fruition. And in order to do that, they will be able to implement a new world order. Sister White has spoken extensively on this in terms of the Sunday law, in terms of the one world religion. We saw in the last couple of years, in more recent time, the Pope has been pushing for all religions to come together. As a matter of fact, in 2017, they announced that Protestantism had died and it's no more. So all the churches had gone back to Rome and had rejoined with Rome. And I can't speak to Seventh-day Adventists. Do not ask me whether the Seventh-day Adventists has gone back. I could say that I have not gone back. But I doubt that the Seventh-day Adventist Church has decided to go back to Rome, because we would have known by now. So this might be one of the few churches that has not really joined back with Rome. Beside this point, like you rightly said earlier, Brother Sergius, what we're seeing is that they're trying to implement this new world order in a multifaceted manner, so in a holistic manner. So what we have is, you have certain, and hey, if we remember clearly, I can't remember, I don't think it was Aleister Crowley, but there's a very famous statement: out of chaos comes order, out of crisis comes new policies. We saw that with 9/11. I mean, prior to 9/11, who was actually traveling and had to remove belts, and had to remove shoes, and had to remove laptops from bags and all of that kind of thing? Who was actually traveling and had to actually get the RFID passports that are now in circulation right now? So a lot of things. So out of certain crises, you get new policies, and those new policies actually lead one step closer to achieving a new world order, like you rightly said, with the cashless society. And that's a very, very, very good point. And that is the point we're supposed to be building on, because the cashless society, and this is how I see that they can actually create control. So the Bible talks about if you don't have the mark, you won't be able to buy or sell. Now, if you have a cashless society where your information is on a microchip or it's electronic, so let's forget the whole issue of about microchip, because I really don't want to to talk about whether the microchip is the mark of the beast. We've dealt with that before. So we've dealt with the whole issue of the microchip not being the mark of the beast. So I don't even want to go there. But the point is, cashless society would work in this fashion. And we've seen this in Switzerland, where they've established this cashless society system. So what you would have, so if Elder Saint-Just, if Brother Renoir and Ezra, you know, you have your money in the bank in the US, so you have your little $10,000 in the bank or $20,000 in the bank, and they move towards this cashless society, and they said, hey, listen, we're now we're now going to officially recognize Sunday as the day of worship. And all those who are not part of the new system that we've rolled out, which is this New World Order, if you're not part of it, you will not be able to experience anything, and you're going to be left out of it. So the money that you have in the bank, if you're not with them, and if you're not accepting the mark, which is the Sunday, and to make a choice to accept Sunday as your worship, as your day of worship, what's going to happen is they could decide to just switch off your access to that bank remotely. So you have no access to your monies. You can't buy, you can't sell, because you're locked out of the system. So that's, to your point, this is exactly why the cashless society is going to be a very dangerous thing for Seventh-day Adventists and for persons who obey the law of God. The other point you were making with reference to this virus, and you referenced, I want you to talk a little more about that. You referenced President Trump being able to, well, I think he mentioned that they're going to be investigating. And I saw an article come out yesterday, part of the report, where they investigated the whole Wuhan theory. And what they found in that initial report was that the virus indeed it came from the bat, but that bat was actually being experimented on in the lab. As to how it ended up leaving the lab, they're not able to ascertain details on that as yet. But for persons who have not seen the report, I will share this report. This report came out yesterday. I will share the report at the end of the broadcast for persons to peruse it and to see for themselves what is being said. But the U.S. government, through its intelligence service, strongly believes that this virus was manipulated with, and they're now holding China accountable, with President Trump actually stating that it will be charging China to pay for for damages caused by this virus.
Yeah, that is. Yes, that is so powerful. One thing that I can say, a lot of people have, I guess, some animosity towards the current president of the United States, Donald Trump, and he's not very favorable in the sight of, you know, the major population. But I can say, you know, there are some of his policies that I can agree with, and some of the things that he do and say when he, you know, especially at the beginning of this whole pandemic, I can agree with some of the things that he has done, and even cutting off some of the funding to the World Health Organization. And, you know, Tedros, his name is, he's linked with, you know, the Communist Party in China, right. And he's, you know, so there are a lot of things that he doesn't say for just the avid watcher of just mainstream news. It will sound crazy to them. But then if you understand what is going on behind the scenes, your eyes will just be open. And I'm just watching very closely to see what is happening, even with Fauci's involvement in all of this too. Looking at Bill Gates, Fauci and Bill Gates, they're very good friends. He's on the board, sits on the board of his foundation as well.
Yep.
Fauci sits on the board of Bill Gates Foundation. And we know Bill Gates is pumping billions of dollars into finding the vaccine for the coronavirus in one of the, I think the company name is Modernos. And, you know, there's so many.
Can you hear us right now? Yes, I'm not sure what is going on, if you can hear us or not. However, we're just trying to get everything reorganized. Everything your end as well. It's a bad connection. Okay, you said go ahead and speak. Okay, good, good. Okay, great. So everyone else can hear us, and I think what you're talking about was Fauci and what is going on right now as it pertains to the Bill Gates Foundation and also Fauci as well.
Yes, so we just monitoring everything closely and looking at what is going on, keeping our eyes very open and not being swayed by just the mainstream news networks, because they will instill fear in you and they will try to create a perception and push the propaganda. So you're just looking independently at what is going on right now, looking at everybody attachment to everything. What is the purpose of them trying to push the vaccine? We have now New York is doing antibody testing, and all the test results are just surprising, groundbreaking. That more people might have been infected than they originally thought, and all of a sudden, a whole bunch of articles started flooding because it doesn't say that you wouldn't be reinfected with the corona. And there's some research on the 1918 Spanish flu, and the individuals who had suffered with, that was over. It's the data study of, I think, about 10 years ago, and they found that the people who were infected back then still had antibodies to the Spanish flu. And this shows us that the antibodies in flus and this type of things could last, upwards 90 plus years. But now there's a whole bunch of propaganda now, which is true. There's no evidence to show that the antibodies will protect us for future infection, because this coronavirus COVID-19 haven't been around for more than 1 year. So there's no evidence, which is true. But at the same time, you can see that they're trying to, dispel the good news that more people have been infected with the coronavirus and they have recovered. They didn't show severe symptoms, and this is kind of also helping to dissuade people from getting the vaccinations, because now if so many people recovered and the death rate is so low, then what is the point of vaccination? That's also now is flooded with.
All right. Okay, they're back.
Yes, it was going on about pushing that vaccination really hard, and it's just, you can see it's manipulation, and I ball up inside every time I watch it and I hear it, and I see people who are instilled with fear, and they go on social media and they bash people who would speak against the vaccination and so forth. And I'm like, you just need to sit down and educate yourself, intelligent. Just be intelligent about this whole situation. Don't do anything based upon fear or based upon the propaganda that is being pushed, but look at, investigate things for yourself. Remain sane, system, and you will be just okay. You will be fine.
Oh yes, and just speaking from an economic standpoint as it relates to that as well, for this entire issue going on with being able to develop a vaccination for that, if they recognize, okay, people are dying and the percentage is high, then basically we're looking at individuals, which with the medical system, one of the largest areas in which they profit from, the largest profit areas is that even of vaccination as well, in which, Bill Gates definitely fund a lot more, because that is what is really contributing to a lot of the funds that comes in. So no wonder that will also be coupled as well with this entire crisis, where they can capitalize on that aspect. And again, it's not just an economic standpoint. This will go into a standpoint too that could even go as an individual, because reduce already there are many laws that demands people from acting a certain way, keeping themselves a certain way, doing certain things, then it tells me that if many things are becoming mandatory, then that issue of vaccination, whether you believe in the vaccination or not, it may even become to a point where it could even be mandatory. I'm not saying that it will, but there are
Yeah, yeah.
possibilities of that where
Well,
now
well, actually,
individual rights will be impacted.
Well, actually, it's actually going to be mandatory because I saw a report on CNN where they were basically saying that they're considering putting laws in place for persons when they reopen the country in the U.S. They're going to put laws in place to ensure that only persons who have taken the vaccine would be allowed to enter the country, and therefore this is a way of ensuring that it is mandatory. So I think this is where they're going to be going with it. But let me just say something else here quickly. The medical community were very quick to dismiss Luc Montagnier as a madman. For persons who don't know, and if you're just joining us, Luc Montagnier is a recipient, the 2008 recipient of the Nobel Prize for medicine and physiology. Luc Montagnier is the 2008 Nobel Prize winner for medicine and physiology, and also he's recognized as a co-discoverer of the HIV virus. And he came out this last week to state categorically that he believes that the virus has been manipulated and created in a lab. They were very quick to dismiss him as a madman because of his work in homeopathy and natural medicine, which is sort of on a tangent in terms of what he had been researching before. And the way the world works nowadays is almost like anyone who actually teaches or studies natural medicine, they're calling them mad people. It's the only thing that they seem to be recognizing is the pharmaceutical research into drugs that actually would have adverse reactions in your body, in your system. Now, the problem with vaccines is that they have a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. Not taking into consideration that different people have a different physiology, in terms of the process of the body, so how the bodies work. So not everybody would have the same antigens or the antibodies and that sort of thing. And so when you introduce certain viruses, it may end up creating an adverse reaction in a small percentage of persons. So what's going to happen is, the way pharmaceutical companies see it is that's just a small price to pay for more majority of the population to gain victory over whatever virus it is. So some persons, may have to suffer consequences and stuff, but that is just minuscule compared to the number of persons that's actually surviving. However, what they fail to understand is the natural remedy would give you 100% recovery rate, unlike the vaccine. Now, there's another point I want to bring out here. A lot of persons have not really understood how Big Pharma operates. So this is how they operate. I spent about 4 years at med school. And in my time at med school, I got to learn a lot of things in terms of how the medical community operates. So one of my lecturers from the US told us in one of the lectures that he had that even in St. Lucia, the pharmaceutical companies would send reps or representatives to sell certain drugs to doctors that they may be able to prescribe as a preferred drug to their patients in order to receive incentives or in order to receive compensation for that. So the more drugs that you prescribe, the more you're going to be able to cash in from the pharmaceutical companies. So that's just hold a second as we wait for them to join back with us. Okay, they're back on. That's one way that the pharmaceutical companies is actually going to be controlling the doctors. Now, let's talk about the scientists. Majority of the scientists, as a scientist, we know that they spend millions of dollars to go to school to obtain a degree, right? Thousands of dollars to obtain a doctorate in a particular area as a virologist or immunologist or a chemist or whatever you want to talk about. when they come out of there, they would need a job to be able to pay that loan back. And not only that, they would need someone to back them or to fund their research. And this is where the pharmaceutical companies come in. They provide the scientists with monies to be able to fund their research. Now, if the pharmaceutical companies funding research for scientists, do you think that they're actually going to come out and tell you, well, hey, we manipulated this virus or we played with this virus? You know what's going to happen? Their careers will be over, the funding will stop, and they will discredit them in any way possible to protect themselves. And that is what Big Pharma does. So Big Pharma has the backing of people like Bill Gates, who are currently funding vaccines and certain other things and whatnot. And they want to be able to protect their investment and to protect their assets and that sort of thing. So so this is what Luc Montagnier was saying, Renoir and Ezra. This is what he was saying. He basically said a group out of India had previously come out to state that they found evidence that the virus was manipulated with. To only a couple of days later retract that statement and apologize. So Luc Montagnier is basically saying he's an old man. He's like, what, 80, 90 years old? So he's an old man. He's already won his Nobel Prize. He has nothing to lose. And they can't do anything to him at this point. They don't have any control over him. But it's the young scientists that they can actually control. You know, I recall watching a documentary a couple of years ago where this whistleblower scientist had come out to expose one of the pharmaceutical companies only to find him dead a couple of months later. So, I mean, it's a crazy world out there. I'm not saying that they assassinated him or anything or whatnot, but it's strange that he would end up dying later on after exposing a particular pharmaceutical company. So, my standpoint, I just don't buy anything these folks tell you. I don't buy it. I don't take it. I will not take it with a grain of salt. I'm just not going to take it with anything whatsoever. I just don't believe them. I believe in the Word of God, and I believe that God has given us an outline. So I follow the Word of God. I believe that God has given us an outline, and I'm so happy that the St. Gis family has founded Eden Lifestyle, and they're actually putting that outline into practice. And they're spreading this all around. They're getting results. Persons are actually reporting success rates from cancer, something that persons, the moment you get a diagnosis of cancer, the next thing you think of is dying. And you guys have been able to assist so many families to be able to get them back on the road to recovery, and not just recovery, but 100% recovery. So I just want to thank you guys so much for being able to do that. But you were saying something also about the vaccines. Do you know also the way persons were able to inoculate themselves? So I recall reading something, and also I heard it from Dr. Shiva, who was talking about it in India. This is what they used to do in India, where if somebody was diagnosed with chickenpox, they would be invited to the neighbor's house and all of the house in the community in order to be able to give over that chickenpox to persons who didn't have it, so that they themselves could build the immunity needed naturally to fight off this virus in the future. Now, not many people would want to do that. And therefore, this is why we have you on the show here this afternoon, to be able to tell us what are some of the things that you'll be able to do if you do not want to take the vaccine and you believe that the vaccine is unsafe. So if someone does not take the vaccine, this question is for both of you, elders. Anyone can answer. If someone does not believe in a vaccine, can the natural remedy be of a better or bring better results to someone who does not believe in the vaccine and want to inoculate themselves through vaccine? Are they going to be able to build a strong immune system to withstand viruses such as the COVID and any future virus, for that matter, the MERS or the SARS or whatever?
Yes, definitely. I mean, I just mentioned this as well from the standpoint of, just mentioned something for the flu, then bring it back to us from the standpoint of even the flu vaccine, which now I guess, there are many strands of it as well. Someone taking the flu vaccine doesn't mean that they will not get the flu. Many people who have taken the flu vaccine actually get the flu to begin with. However, what we're showing you is a way that you can implement by boosting the immune system, not only to be able to help corona, but guess what? Next year there may be something else, and we expect things to happen even to a much more alarming extent as well. So then, just scientifically looking at things, I mean, common sense will tell you that in order for you to be able to fight yeah, that I can continue on. Right, I think we're on. However, I was mentioning that
Yeah.
one of the key things is being scientific. What is the types of virus like in the virus pandemic that we've had in the past, and even just recently, well, we have in which one of the ways back then, like you were saying also for chickenpox, for measles as well, in 1950s and before, that individuals were actually allowing their children to play with others who were experiencing this illness as well. Why? Because it was not something that was scary, and many people right now, in terms of the active cases for corona, 98% of people active cases right now actually have very mild symptoms. So then your body naturally builds an immunity to it. It brings in antibodies, because many times with the vaccinations as well, they also place in those antibodies in you too at the same time, along with many other damaging things. However, you naturally could build those things by contracting it, but you can also prevent and also overcome this by a strong immune system. So definitely by applying things that you'll be seeing for the immune system, it's a scientifically proven way to be able to fight off viruses by just simply doing the things that wouldn't suppress, but that will actually build up and strengthen your immunity to fight off viruses, fungi, infections, like the corona, which we truly believe that if you develop a good, strong immune system, it doesn't mean that you may not necessarily ever get it at all, but it means that you'll be able to overcome it at a much better success rate than anyone else who may have a compromised immune system, eating all the junk fast foods and sugary foods and everything else that is causing them to be able to have symptoms that is even more worse.
And also, we have to understand that medication, a lot of our medications today, they extract different herbs, different compounds in the herbs that help with different conditions. Like menthol is very popular in various cough suppressant medications. And when you look at menthol, you look at peppermint and eucalyptus, basically
Right.
70% of peppermint is made up of menthol
Yep.
extract. And the reason why the medications, the pharmaceuticals extract those compounds and place it into medications, they create their own formulas so that they can patent it. And also not only patent it, but they place other various harmful chemicals in there as well that has many adverse side effects. So you really, when you take those medications, what you really want are those compounds that benefits you, that doesn't have all those a whole.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, next week, was it next week or tomorrow? You said tomorrow, right? That you will be playing the webinar. We'll be talking about some herbs there on this webinar and many other different things and different therapies that you can do to help to overcome the coronavirus if you contract it, and also how to build up your body so that if you happen to get the coronavirus, then you may not show as severe symptoms. It will just be very mild.
Oh, yes. And everyone has health. You have a choice as what you choose to plan your personal health. And we have made a choice as well to go to apply those things to our health, and we've seen results with it. We also work with people who make that choice and allow us to assist them, and they also see results through that as well. So then, what we're not telling you right now is if just go and throw out all the medications and everything that you have. But what we're saying is this: as you put yourself in line with the plan, the simple natural plan, get your lifestyle together. Stop, doing the things that are harmful and start doing the things that will help you. Naturally, your body will be in a position where it will no longer require to be sustained on a lot of the poisonous drugs and medication that we may be consuming right now. And I believe many are aware and many do recognize that as well. And one of our missions is to help many to be able to restore health, to build health, and without a sustenance as well of any other foreign thing that is foreign to the body.
Great, great. Just for those persons who didn't hear at the beginning of this program, we are going to share with you. I know persons have been asking about what herbs that you would be able to take to boost your immune system. It is listed in the guide, which we will be providing for you at the end of this program. So stay tuned. As we end in the next couple of minutes, we will be posting the link to be able to allow you access to download that guide. Not only will you have that guide, but you will also be able to watch the entire webinar program tomorrow evening at about between 5:30 and 6. As if you want to know more about how to boost your immune system, this will be the time frame that you would want to make available for you to be able to watch this program tomorrow, God's willing. Again, I want to thank Brother Saint-Just and Ezra, Renoir and Ezra, for being my guests here this afternoon. We had a lot of technical issues, but hopefully if we could try to fix this for the next seating, and hopefully you might end up being in a better position to be able to have that issue sorted out for us. Again, they're actually using satellite internet, which is not really steady right now because if there's good weather, it will prevail. If there isn't good weather, then you're gonna experience what they're experiencing right now, which is a break, an interruption in the feed coming to us at Advent Channel. I think we've covered a lot of the subject areas I wanted to touch on. A lot of persons tend to accuse anti-vaxxers, as they call them, as conspiracy theorists. But if you really study the health message, you read the books Back to Eden and so forth and so on, and you follow the outline by God in the spirit of prophecy in terms of taking care of your health, you would see that there really isn't any need for taking in foreign medication which will create adverse reactions in your body. And by the way, you didn't touch on that, Brother Saint-Just, but I just want to make sure, I want to have persons to go home and to do some research. Do you know that every specific medication that you take into your body puts added pressure on two main important organs? That is your liver and your kidney. Your liver has to clean your blood. Okay, so it purifies your blood. In purifying your blood, if the toxins and the byproducts of any particular drug goes through the liver and damages liver cells in the process. And then you also have your kidney, which basically has to filter out a lot of those things from the blood in order to excrete a lot of the waste that the body has. And a lot of because of the glomerulus that actually does the filtration for your body, what's going to happen is those huge particles that are too big to be able to pass through the glomerulus, they're going to end up staying back. And that is where you end up getting kidney stones because of all those calcification and all of those things and whatnot that's taking place there. So basically those two, and by the way, if you didn't know, a lot of the heart problems that we have in society stems from really, you know, corona, artery issues, as well as kidney problems. So if the kidney is failing, then it's going to put up added pressure on the heart. So it's worth noting that in the program. So I suppose the St. Just brothers will be able to do for us a specific program on the adverse reactions of medication and vaccine in the next program that we'll be having. As they come back, we just want to thank them for being with us this afternoon. A lot of information here to digest this afternoon. Thank you so much. Final comments from you?
Well, one thing that I could say is we are living in the end times. And just looking at New York and California spearheading a lot of the policies that is being put out into the United States. And we know that California have passed laws that they take away religious exemption, claiming religious exemption from medication and so forth. And New York just passed a law that children who attend public schools cannot claim for religious exemption. So they wouldn't be permitted into school if they don't take the medication, whatever it's religious reasons. So I know that we are heading to some serious times. We're heading the end times. The coronavirus pandemic, this COVID-19 pandemic that is happening worldwide, just gave me a glimpse of the things that can happen globally at a global scale. So what I can tell people right now, with that physical preparation, you have to have a spiritual preparation as well. And you have to get your life ready, because we live in the end times. And I see that we have a few years again. And the things that I saw happen during this pandemic, it just shocked me. And to see people were begging for their rights to be taken away. Begging for, or even reporting people who didn't fall in line with what the government and what the governing bodies had to say. And it just gave me a glimpse of what will be happening in the last days. So all I can say is get ready, because something is about to happen that we have never seen before.
Oh, yes. And just as an encouragement as well, I know the Bible specifically prophesies as well in Matthew 24, and also in several of the Gospels, where it basically tells us that men's hearts shall be filling them for fear and for looking after those things that are coming upon the earth. The one thing we do recognize is that there are lots of fear that has been invoked and that is being invoked right now in many. And as a result, we see this is not only just in the United States, but it's a worldwide thing, a global thing that is taking place. So wherever you are, I believe the Lord is, letting us know, hey, we understand. And if you do not understand, within the Bible gives us what is actually taking place right now, so that we will not be taken unawares as to what is exactly going on, and that we can be calm within that situation, knowing that God is with us. And the promise I want to leave with you is in Joshua 1 verse 9. Joshua 1 verse 9, it tells us, have not I commanded thee, be strong and be of good courage. Sorry about that. So I read the Bible text again in Joshua 1 verse 9, which says, have not I commanded thee, be strong and be of good courage. It says, be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever. As you go to the supermarket, as you go to your workplace, if you are at work still, at home, wherever you are, that we ought not to be fearful. Why? Because the Lord promises to us, as he promised then, he promises to us today that he is with us. So one of the charges of you listening as well is be strong and be of good courage, because in the midst of the crisis, there is still a God that is still on his throne, and there are still solutions and remedies that God has given that we can gain access to. That way we can be able to achieve optimal health and overcome this issue as well. So God has not left us empty-handed. There are solutions, and that's our goal, being able to help many more understand these solutions.
Amen. Thank you so much. For those persons who were waiting on the link has been posted in the comment box, in the comment section. It has been pinned, so you could go to the link right now and download your copy, your free copy of the Ultimate Guide to Fight COVID-19 Naturally. And in this guide, you will be able to find what the herbs are that you can actually use, what fruits you can actually use to boost your immune system. What we also mentioned earlier was there's certain things that you also need to take into consideration while also following this guide. You know, bad healthy habits need to be put away, put aside. Fast food eating, also adding exercise to your diet and to your everyday living is also going to help in a huge way to boost your immune system as well. So with that, we thank you. We've come to the end of this program. We thank you so much for staying with us in spite of the technical difficulty from New York. We're hoping next week we could fix this issue and have a smoothless program where you can ask your questions. And I know some persons ask questions and stuff. We tried as much as possible to address a lot of the issues being brought up during the program. So again, thank you so much. Quick note, our prophetic series, Prophetic Secrets of the New World Order, will be continuing tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. But preceding that program will be the full webinar that we played earlier on, excerpt from it. The full webinar will be shown prior to that program in the afternoon at about 5:30, thereabout. So we look forward to seeing you then. Continue to stay safe, continue to practice social distancing, continue to wash your hands regularly, and to do all you can to protect yourself and your loved ones. Wear your mask when you go out in public as well, and to do the best you can to boost your immune system, because in these last days, the only information you can count on is the information that will never fail you, and that is the Word of God. That is where you're sure. That is where you're assured a good and healthy lifestyle. That is where you're assured, life. Men will fail you, but God Himself has said that He will not fail you. He will never leave you. He will never forsake you. All you need to do is to be able to depend upon Him, to follow His instruction, obey His every word, and you will find safety in the hands of God. So may God continue to bless you as you continue to worship Him and await His second coming. So stay blessed, stay safe, and stay at home. If you only have to go out, but stay at home. Thank you so much, Saint-Just brothers, for being able to be here with us this afternoon. Have yourself a wonderful evening, and see you tomorrow evening. Goodbye.